I'm happy to say, welcome to Seattle, Sam Elliott, and Brett Haley, who I don't think nearly as many people know as Sam.
No.
But welcome to you both to Seattle. This afternoon, you're getting a kind of, it's sort of this honor. You're going to be doing an interview on stage and then presenting your latest film called KIRO. And this is a perfect opportunity for me to get to talk to you, Sam, which I never had the opportunity to do. And also talk about your newest movie, which I've always wanted to do like a career retrospective with you. And the great thing about this movie, it seems to me, is this allows it. I mean, this is practically a career retrospective of a movie. So it allows me to do all sorts of things that I've always wanted to do. But first off, I just want to run this hunch. I've got this hunch that this is how Brett's mind was working. So I saw you in I'll See You in My Dreams, Brett's other movie. It stars Blythe Danner, and she needs to get swept off her feet by this good-looking hunk of a guy who happens to be Sam Elliott. And the movie and Blythe Danner's character takes a real hit when halfway through the movie it feels like
alert.
You suddenly are no longer in the picture. We'll just put it that way. And I think that just like Blythe Danner, I think a lot of us were feeling, wow, that's a real loss, which is the point in the movie. At that point, my hunch is Brett says, heck, next time I'm going to make him star and center and make him, you know, in practically every frame. Brett, how close to the to reality is that?
You sum it up in your own interesting way, for sure. But you're not far off in the sense that I just loved working with Sam, and then became very close to him as a friend, doing the promotion for I'll See You in My Dreams, and just enjoying the collaboration with him as an actor. And Mark Bash, who wrote I'll See You in My Dreams with me and also wrote KIRO with me, we just loved Sam, and we just said we just want to give him, I always joke and say this, we just want to give the world 90 minutes of Sam Elliott. Okay. Nothing else.
Yeah.
Don't pop him in and then have him go and come back later, but just go ahead and just bite the bullet and do the whole movie just with Sam. And this film, I think you're right in many ways, is sort of like a greatest hits of Sam Elliott. You get to kind of have your cake and eat it too. And I always joke with people, if you love Sam Elliott, you're going to love this movie. And I think most people love Mr. Elliott, so.
Okay, so if you don't, you're not going to like the movie.
Yeah, you're not. Yeah, it's not for you. I always tell people at screenings, if you don't like Sam, just leave now. Save yourself some time.
Okay, so Sam, on the flip side, what's it like receiving this kind of script in the mail? I don't know if you guys talked about it before you actually saw a script.
I had no idea it was coming. It came in treatment form in the beginning originally. It was like, I don't know, 15 or 20 pages, maybe not even that. It was called Iceberg, but it was constructed in true Brett Haley, Mark Bash fashion, and it was like about this character that I understood and knew.
Yeah.
You know, so it piqued me right away, and then I saw the screenplay, and it was like, I've been saying for the last, I don't know, couple of weeks that I've had parts written for me before, but never a script written for me before.
An entire script.
It's a wonderful gift for an actor to have somebody write a script for them, believe me.
Did you feel any burden? I mean, after all, 90 minutes, I can't remember a frame that you're not on the screen. I mean, it is your story. For all intents and purposes, did that feel like a heavy burden, or did it feel like?
No, I mean it was a wonderful opportunity. My job is to try to do justice to the material, try to breathe some life into it, and maybe bring something different to it, something other than what was expected because of what was on the page. I just wanted to do the best work that I could and try to be honest with it.
Were you thinking privately, finally? Finally, someone's got around to this.
I don't think I ever thought that. I never thought finally. I just think, because it's like, I think it's a rarity for a script to be written, particular for someone. And maybe that's just because I've never been in that world where people were developing parts for me.
Yeah.
But even that, usually it comes with someone else on the page.
Sure.
More than the supporting players are in this thing. I mean, there was no getting away from this character in this piece.
Well, first off, it's on the surface at least, it seems very pertinent to your career. And I don't know how. For instance, you're going to go have this onstage interview this afternoon and all this. There is an early moment in the movie where what else? He's going to get this award. The hero, the guy, the character you play, is going to get this award, this Western Appreciation Award, and that character is decidedly ambivalent about receiving that award. Do you feel any kinship to that sensibility?
I've gone to those kind of organizations before over my career and gotten awards from them, specifically the National Cowboy Hall of Fame and Western Heritage Awards. I think I've gotten like 6 what they call Wrangler Awards, and I'm in there. They have a thing called the Hall of Great Western Performers, you know, and it's all those cowboys, you know, and writers and artists that are in this organization, and I'm honored to be part of that.
You are, okay.
And I think that what Lee said when he went to this place to get this award from this, albeit little smaller kind of an organization, this Western Appreciation Award, I think what he said there to those people is not far from how I feel about it.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That it's not about me, it's about you.
It's about all of us.
Yeah.
And he says, I'm nothing without all of you.
Yeah.
And an actor, for better or worse, without an audience isn't much of an actor.
Yeah. You know, speaking of acting, I mean, you've done your entire career in acting. You have, I've seen other interviews with you and the way you play the character in The Hero too. You seem so, like, naturally modest about yourself. How is it that you got in such an ego-driven profession like acting, where you have to sort of put yourself, you know, front and forward all the time?
Yeah, curious, isn't it? I've thought about that more than once.
Is that right?
I just think that, you know, I wanted to do it when I was a kid. It wasn't about anything other than I wanted to make movies.
Okay.
I wanted to be a movie actor. I didn't want to be a stage actor. I'm not a legitimate actor. I wanted to make movies.
Okay.
Because I went to see too many movies when I was a kid.
Do you remember the kind of movies? I mean, were there westerns that you were particularly drawn to?
There were early Ford westerns. There were early Howard Hawks pieces. There were, you know, it was serials. It was like Flash Gordon serials.
Oh, really? So,
you know?
a little bit of everything.
And it was in the 50s I'm talking about. So, you know.
So your character in The Hero, he has some regrets about how his life has turned out, it seems to me.
I think he paid the price, you know. He paid the price.
Yes.
And I think the fact that he'd only done one film weighed on him, that he was so recognized for. But I think the biggest price he paid was the toll that it took on his family and his relationship with his family.
Absolutely. Now, I don't want to pry personally, but I am interested in do you have any professional regrets? Are there things in your career that you think, I made the wrong move here, or I was somehow...
Oh, I look back and I think, you know, there was a time, and I've talked about that before, and there was a time in my career, I've always been pretty honest and opinionated, but there was a time in my career, I think, when I was honest, opinionated, and not very smart. And that's a bad...
How so? You mean not very politic?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just glib.
Uh-huh.
You know? And it came off, I think, misunderstood. It wasn't intended to be anything in particular. I just think it's oft misunderstood.
Yeah.
But, you know, in terms of regrets, no.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's life.
When you look at... Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
Not at all.
When
it was pretty boring. I would have been...
Oh, no. Hey, even boring sounds profound with your delivery. Looking back at your career, and that's one of the great things, because I'm getting older too, you begin looking back at your life. What do you think a 25-year-old Sam Elliott would make of the 70-year-old Sam Elliott professionally?
Oh, man. I'd probably want to do what he did.
Which is?
If it was me.
Yeah?
I mean, not somebody else. I can't say what somebody else is going to think of me. I'd be really happy if at 25 I knew that this is where I was going to end up, sitting next to this guy and having just done this film.
See, that's great. That's a great answer. Not a lot of people.
I'm very, very fortunate to have the life and the career that I've had.
One of the other things about this movie too, and I think it may have something more to do with Brett than anything, but it has that kind of family feel. And if anybody knows anything about you, who else should show up in this movie? First up, Nick Offerman, who a lot of people know and love because of your appearances and his obviously regular appearances on Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
Your wife, the lovely Catherine Ross, is also in this movie. You're now working with Brett for the second time. It has that kind of familial feel, which is exactly what the movie is meant to be about. It's about a guy who's trying to restore his family.
Right.
You know, it's his one last go. What was it like on the set for you? You've done. You know, you may not have had a movie where the entire movie rested on your shoulders for 90 solid minutes. However, you've been in tons of movies. How would you describe Brett's set and the cast and all that? What's the atmosphere like when you're making a movie?
It's an incredibly creative, fun place to be.
Yeah?
And it trickles down. You know, the feeling and the tone on the set comes from on high. And that's one of the things I love working about Brett is his enthusiasm and his artistry. I mean, it's the ideal scenario for actors to come together and do their best work.
So clearly, in The Hero, I mean, we could talk about I'll See You in My Dreams too, because you're fantastic in that movie too. But
it's on the page, you know, and it's shame on you if you can't do good work when it's good material on the page. You should show up, maybe.
Fair enough, but still, I mean, and you clearly bring a presence. Brett really capitalizes on the fact that you have become, for better or for worse, and I want to ask you more about this, for better or worse, you become this sort of iconic image of the Marlboro Man, of the ultimate, Western. I want to ask you about that. Does that become more of a straitjacket, or is that actually a liberation for you? If that's the way people see me, I'm gonna run with this and I'm gonna cash in.
There was a time when I was a little perplexed by it, for lack of a better way to put it, and thought, Jesus, I'd like to get out of this Western box and be thought of in terms of, being something else.
Really?
But that's the way it rolls.
Yeah.
I did a film with the Coen brothers a few years back.
A film, yeah.
The Big Lebowski.
This little movie, maybe.
It's
not iconic or anything.
I was on location with John Milius doing a thing called The Rough Riders, which was another kind of a Western thing. And I got this script from the Coen brothers, and it came to me on the set. I couldn't wait to get back to my hotel room that night and read it, because I thought, wow, this is going to be this opportunity to play some wacky character, totally unlike anything I've ever done. You know? And so I get back there and I start looking at it, and it's like they're talking about tumbleweeds and this song and this voice sounding not unlike Sam Elliott. And then when he shows up the first time, they describe this kind of drugstore cowboy looking not unlike Sam Elliott. And I thought, Jesus Christ, really? Again, the Western thing? And I think from then on I embraced it. And it took me that maybe to realize how fortunate I've been. Not really realize, but to just put that to rest, because it was really ill-conceived. Anybody that's had a career that's gone on for 48 years and have basically worked throughout that period of time is a lucky man to be working in this game. And if they want to think me as the guy that does Westerns, I'm good with it.
I think the irony of that is nothing, I think, cemented your image as the ideal, iconic image of the West than a movie that had nothing to do, at least tangentially, like The Big Lebowski, which, it's so fun, because I've had a chance to interview a lot of people through the years, and I'm always curious, because I'm big fans of people, but I work with a lot of millennials like Dyer, and as soon as I mentioned that I had Sam Elliott coming in, they immediately start talking, oh my God, the guy from Parks and Rec, oh my God, The Big Lebowski, oh my God, Tombstone. It's like, the nice thing about your career is it extended for so many decades that you have fans at all these levels, and now you got millennials that are jumping out of their chairs to get a chance to guess who volunteered to say, hey, I'm happy to videotape Sam here. It's really amazing.
It's a huge part of I'm the same way. I'm technically a millennial. I'm right on the edge there. I'm barely qualified, but
we'll let you in.
Yeah, but I grew up on Tombstone and Roadhouse and The Big Lebowski, and obviously The Big Lebowski and the Coens films are huge, and Sam is so memorable. You never forget that mustache and that sarsaparilla. It's ingrained, and we love it. And then to see him pop up on Parks and Rec and the whole thing. he has an appeal that is of a leading man.
Yes.
And I am flabbergasted that I'm the first person in a long time, at least, to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Because I just think people are going to go crazy for him in this film.
Mm-hmm.
He has a following that is, like you say, at every age, love him for a different reason. And at the end of the day, it just goes to show you that he's a phenomenal actor. He's a guy that can step into any part and make it his own. He's singular. There's nobody else like Sam Elliott. And that's the kind of actors that I like to work with. There's nobody else like a lot of the people in this film. We're blessed with an incredible cast. There's nobody else like Nick Offerman or Catherine Ross or Laura Prepon, Kristen Ritter. These are incredible people, and boy, we were just blessed to be able to play with all of them.
So again, you're frankly blushing, Sam. You're so shy, seeming, and modest. I want to ask you again about other roles. If you weren't, the image of the West, were you dying to do something specific? Like, did you want to be a song and dance man, do a musical?
I wanted to do westerns.
You didn't want to do westerns?
I have like deep roots in Western heritage.
Is that right?
I'm like a seventh generation Texan that was born in California. My folks were there. I've got like deep historical roots in the state of Texas and New Mexico. And I'd always just had this affinity for the West.
Yeah, perfect. So you're not complaining. I know, I understand that halfway through your career you began thinking I'd like to branch out and begin kind of in closing, but now that you've embraced it,
And in doing that, it's allowed me to branch out. I mean, I've done things that have nothing at all to do with being a Western,
Absolutely. I remember you in The Contender.
And The Contender was, and it was an interesting thing, because I remember having a conversation with Rod Lurie, the guy that wrote that and directed it. And number one, it was, how do you see me as playing the chief of staff to the President of the United States? I think I had hair to my shoulders at that point. And he said, "Man, I just saw you and I just watched The Big Lebowski again, and I want to see more of you and Jeff." Because Jeff was playing the President.
Who plays the President, right.
I mean, brilliant casting to put Jeff as the President.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing. And the fact that he could see that kind of killer instinct that Sam has, which he has in Justified as well, where he has that, and the Hulk too, where the anger and that he's got so many different sides to him that I think once you start playing it out, it just, he can show all these different sides. It's
great. You mentioned his TV work, Justified. I just realized my wife said as she came in, so guess who likes Grace and Frankie? And I said, Sam Elliott, just from Jane Fonda's bow of sorts. So you really, you are hitting all generations, and that's really.
I think part of it's the sound as well. I remember again talking with Rod when we were doing The Contender about the way this guy talked. I don't do voices. I mean, I'm not doing somebody else's voice. I can get Dan Petrie, the guy that directed Lifeguard, told me one time, do it again and a little less south in the mouth. That was how he coined it. And so I'm capable of doing that. But Rod told me, I want him to sound like you, man. The chief of staff comes from wherever he comes from. It's you.
That raises an interesting question. You've got killer hair. You've got a killer voice. I mean, you're very good looking. Those are all obvious strengths to play off. Do you ever think that your voice has cost you jobs? That your looks, your hair? No, okay. No. That's good. So it didn't box you in?
No.
Okay.
I had a guy one time, sorry, Brett. I had a guy one time when I was looking for an agent when I first got into California. I was in the National Guard and I was working construction, and I had a portfolio of really nice photos that a guy had taken of me, and I was beating the streets looking for an agent. This friend of mine in the National Guard sent me to this agent friend of his, and this kid looked at this portfolio and said, "These are really good pictures." And he looked at me and looked at the book a couple of times, and finally slid this thing across the desk, and he says, "If I was you, I'd go back to Portland and stay in the construction business." And he said, "But if you're going to stay in town, I would highly recommend that you go get some voice and diction lessons and learn how to talk." And it was like, really? So I'm glad I didn't take that guy's advice.
That's all right. Where is that guy now?
I know for a fact that he's no longer in the business.
Is that right?
So,
Okay, there's something. And a very Brett and I, very sly about how he handles this, and so I thought I use that to branch out. The movie opens with you doing commercial work, and you sound, of course, with that voice, you sound fantastic. And yet, again, we talked about the ambivalence that your character in the movie has towards awards. He also, that character, is clearly ambivalent about the commercial work that he's done, the voiceover stuff. You have done famously great voiceover work. How do you feel about the commercial work?
How do I feel about it in the film, or how do I feel about doing it?
No, I mean, yeah, you personally. I think we got a sense of how he feels about it in the movie. How do you feel about it? Because you're so good at it.
I feel like it's a real gift that
it is, okay.
Because it allows me to turn theatrical work that I don't want to do down really easily. I'm not meaning I'm living from paycheck to paycheck, but it's real easy to walk away from shitty theatrical work if you're not needing money.
Yeah. Okay.
And I've always kind of been in that situation because I've always managed my money or saved my money for the rainy day, so to speak.
That's good to hear.
It's been good to me.
That's great. Listen, one of the other...
I'm picky about what I do.
You are picky.
In the commercial world. I'm really picky. I get a lot of offers to do stuff that I don't want to sell that.
Yeah.
No
beef
thanks.
Counts. I mean, yeah, there are...
It's got to go along with the rest of it. It's all of a piece.
Yeah. And it definitely works. Listen, a couple last questions because they're telling me to wrap up here. I could talk to you. I want to go through each movie you did and talk about them. We don't have time. But one thing is that another honoree this year at SIFF, the Seattle International Film Festival, is a woman named Angelica Houston.
I saw her last night in a book that I was reading, and I was sorry to see that she's going to be here like a week after we are.
Exactly, because you actually work together. Any quick impressions of? I think you played Wild Bill Hickok to, was she Calamity Jane or something?
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And I have vivid, fond memories of working with her.
Yeah, so
I love Angelica.
Do you?
And if you happen to cross paths with her, if you interview her, give her my love, give her my regards, tell her I'm sorry I missed her.
That's great. Believe me, I definitely will. I've got my request in for an interview now. Yeah. Maybe I can use
She's incredible. Angelica's incredible.
She's amazing.
Yeah. That's incredible.
Incredible.
That's very cool.